Here's a story about a man called Zacchaeus. When it came to money, his reputation was fierce. Zacchaeus collected taxes for a country called Rome. But to be honest, most of the time, he just took the money home. You see, Zacchaeus would collect more than he should. In fact, he'd collect as much as he could. "Please, I can't afford it," the people would wail. But if they didn't pay, Zacchaeus would throw them in jail. His pockets were big, and he filled them with wealth. Those around him were poor, but he kept it all for himself. To collect his taxes, Zacchaeus would sit on a chair as the people walked by, saying how it wasn't fair. Then one day a crowd came and stood in his street, and with them was someone they all wanted to meet. Zacchaeus was puzzled and asked, "What's going on?" "There's this good man called Jesus that they say is God's son. If he's good," thought Zacchaeus, "he'll have no time for me. But God's own son, that would be an honour to see." But there was a problem. As Zacchaeus looked, all those around him were tall, whereas Zacchaeus, he was most definitely small. So Zacchaeus ran ahead and climbed up a tree, where at last the Saviour he was able to see. As Jesus passed by, all of a sudden he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, you look like you're stuck. But if you can, come on down from out of that tree. I'd like to come to your house for some tea." The people around went, "Jesus, you're wasting your time. Don't you know that Zacchaeus has led a life of crime?" Jesus said, "Zacchaeus, ignore what they say." So Zacchaeus came on down, and to his house led the way. A voice said, "Jesus has gone to the house of a sinner." Another said, "I know, and he's gone there for dinner." At the house, Zacchaeus stood there quite stunned that God would care for him after all that he'd done. And right there and then, in Zacchaeus was a change. He called everyone together and said, "Excuse me, this might sound strange, but for a moment, please take a look at everything that I've got, because here and now I give the poor half of the lot." The people in that room felt quiet as they stood, for they all knew Zacchaeus had given away more than they would. And there was more, for Zacchaeus said, "If I've cheated you out of money and such, well, I'll pay you all back 4 times as much." So from this story, let me make a point, if I might, that Jesus didn't come for those who'd done right, for people who'd been good, and those who'd been strong, but rather for people like Zacchaeus, who were willing to turn from the wrong that they'd done.